Hello, Darren from Moonhare Studio here, and today I'm being joined by a couple of reprobates, one from the States and one from our very own UK, Ryan Hamilton and Steve Rosier from the podcast. It's Undiscovered and Recovered. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
We can, and very accurate description in your intro. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Feels good to be acknowledged. I feel seen and heard. Our podcast is on my new YouTube channel, which is called Vintage Alternative, and then this is the podcast on the channel. And Undiscovered and Recovered is where we listen to these previously unheard demo cassette tapes from the 90s. They were in a storage unit just outside of London for 30 plus years. And I ended up with them in Texas. It's a long-ish story, but I have over 1,000 of them. They were demos that were sent into record labels from bands that were trying to get signed, and some of them have never even been played or opened. So we're revisiting them one at a time and then trying to share the music and tell the story. And Steve will tell you, it's the most fun thing ever.
Yeah,
It is a real fun thing. Yeah, it's all kinds of music as well. I mean, yeah, we always kind of make a bit of a joke of it at the beginning of each episode. It's like, what do you think the genre is going to be? And there's a lot. We thought there was going to be a lot of grunge and a lot of Britpop because it's from the 90s, but it is all over the map. And often we'll make up genres just to kind of keep ourselves entertained.
So hence lozenge rock.
My proudest moment. It's like mythology rock.
Okay. It's dehydrated comedy rock.
This is bonkers rock.
Oh, God.
I was just going to pop in a lozenge.
It's very much lozenge rock.
Yeah, and many others. You have to watch the videos really to get the full range of new genres that we've discovered over the last 5 or 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Before we get into more detail about that, obviously you've both got histories. Ryan, you were a successful singer-songwriter. I heard somewhere that you were Best Newcomer of the Year 14 years in a row. How does that happen?
That's true. I don't know how it happens. The first band that signed a record deal was in the early 2000s, and then that band broke up and I went on to another project. That band did great, best newcomer, best whatever. That kind of fell apart, went on to something else. And every new project I seem to become best, and it was just like, oh, I'm getting older, and I continue to get nominated for the same thing. And then what happened is I kind of leveled up and started appearing in official charts later in my career. And instead of the independent awards and things like that, you start showing up on like the Heat Seeker charts. Or Steve, what's the British equivalent of
the official UK charts? Oh, the indie, a lot of the indie charts, the indie breakers.
Indie breaker, that's what I was looking for. So it was like, I'm on the indie breakers chart now. I'm 40. And it's just like, it just kept happening over and over. That is true that did happen for however many years I would put out a new record and then get nominated for best new whatever.
So how did the two of you come to know each other then?
Steve, you want to take that? It's a great story.
Yeah, so I was kind of introduced to Ryan's music. We'd never met. Ryan actually did a version of a podcast before they became a thing, way back when. And it was on, I think it was on Twitter, as was. Can anybody kind of come up with some intro music for this podcast? So I just did a couple of voice memos, really roughly, sent them to Ryan. It was basically just me singing two lines. And Ryan was like, that's my favorite. And then we just started chatting kind of over the interwebs. When Ryan first came to the UK, I was at the first show that he ever played over here in Cambridge, where he learnt some fruity language in the car park of the Junction in Cambridge.
Oh, the Junction. Yeah, great. Great venue.
And we just kind of known each other from then. And then, eventually Ryan, because he'd kind of been burnt so badly by the industry, is like, look, I don't want to be on a label, I don't want to manage, I just want to do it all myself. And then, it gained momentum, and he was just like, "Do you want to kind of help me out here?" So yeah, I just kind of ended up managing Ryan, and we've just kind of been side by side for over a decade now.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, Vintage Alternatives are a YouTube channel. What was the original intention for that? You know, where were you going with it to start off with?
Yeah, so the 90s are becoming vintage. It's there are Y2K stores even here in Texas where they're selling vintage band shirts from the early 2000s, and you know, you're starting to see it, well, last year and this year, all of these classic alternative rock albums turning 30, and that seems to be the marker for vintage. So it just kind of hit me. I was like, all this stuff is gonna, it's happening. It's becoming vintage. So I want to have this channel that can kind of be an all-encompassing talk to some famous friends and musical heroes from the 90s, and you know, have a home for the podcast. And uh God, I've done stuff like look through 30-year-old Rolling Stone magazines and things
Mm.
like that. And it just felt like the perfect name. And I kind of got in right before all of these 30-year-old, you know, anniversaries, 30-year anniversaries, etc., started happening. So that's where the name came from.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I know you say it's a long story, but how do you come across a container load of cassettes? I mean, how did this come about? I've just got this image in my head of somebody rocking up at your doorstep with a freight container and dumping it on your front lawn.
You know,
Scarpering.
Yeah, take that.
Surprise.
So it actually wasn't me that was in London that got them. It was a friend, not even a super close friend, more of an acquaintance. We are now kind of better friends because of it. Someone who followed my old band. I was in a band called Smile Smile a
Mm.
long time ago. It was the first band that was successful here in America. And he was actually the one that was like, hey, there are these tapes. So, you know, I am a huge music collector and just love that sort of thing. And he is the one that got the tapes in London, brought them back to Texas, and then I got them from him. So it was not anything that I was searching for. It was something that really just kind of fell in my lap.
Yeah.
And I went, I was asked, would you be interested? It's like, yes, I
Yeah.
would absolutely be interested.
And did you happen to just be the only person in Texas who still had a cassette deck?
No, I had to buy one actually. I went and got like a 90s combo CD player cassette, you know, like we all had back then.
Yeah.
But what's funny about that storage unit uh, purchase is that guy was only after, I think it was one or two things. It wasn't the cassettes in that
Ah,
storage. He was after something else, and it came with these cassettes.
right.
Um, anyway, so yeah, I feel like I hit the lottery, and he, whatever he got, a lamp or whatever he was after.
It does appeal, doesn't it? Because I can always remember seeing cassettes unspooled on the side of the motorway and thinking, I wonder what was on that tape.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know?
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And that's basically what you're doing. You're wondering what is on this tape. I mean, you're in the swing of it now. We're about 25 episodes in, something like that. And have you been surprised at what you've been digging out, or has it pretty much fulfilled all your expectations of the late 1900s?
I've been totally surprised, and it's funny now because we're just now kind of, Steve and I, getting into sort of a groove and a routine. Like with anything, it gets better as you go. But I keep thinking like, okay, we're gonna get better. Steve and I, super comfortable. We got better cameras and better microphones, and the music is gonna start getting really terrible. That's my fear. It's like Steve and I are gonna get really good, and then we're gonna hit this like, God, all this music sucks, or these tapes are blank, or. But in fact, the opposite is happening. And we're surprised every time. The music continues to be really cool. We've discovered some crazy stuff, Darren, some stuff that we haven't even shared. And it doesn't seem to be, you know, stopping, because
No.
every time I grab a stack and we listen through, it's just like, oh my God.
I think that's been the surprising thing for me is like there haven't been. I mean, there's been a couple where it's like, yeah, it's not my kind of thing. But from episode one, that first band, it's like I would have bought their album had I known about it in the day. I would have bought that. I would have gone to the show. I'd have bought a T-shirt. And there've been so many like that. And I think even people I talk to, it's like, well, I love the podcast. Some of that music I'm definitely not into, but I listen to it, and actually I'm finding that I'm quite enjoying stuff that I never thought I would listen to.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have gone and seen God's Boyfriend when they were out and
Right?
about. I mean,
Same.
that was cracking.
Let's hear that choir.
Absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. Vocal Disorder is the one that I wish I would have seen back in the day.
Yeah,
they were insane.
So anybody who's watching this that hasn't seen the episode with Vocal Disorder, just do yourself a favour and check it out, because it is...
He was a late night school meal teacher. Guess what he believed her? Oh yeah, like a good father would. He believed her. Why shouldn't he? He told her everything he specialized.
Stop it now. Woo!
Yeah, bonkers, I think, was the word you used. I'm sure Steve came up with that one. That doesn't sound like an Americanism to me, but I don't know.
Not at all.
That's brilliant. I think the thing that was shocking to me was that so many of these demos seem to be just in ratty old cases with hand-scribbled notes on. Is that the majority of them? I mean, I can remember, sending out demos. We'd always print a proper cover and try and make it look like something, but it seems like there's a lot of, I mean, even down to that Julianne and Bernard one, where you think, surely you would have put more effort into it.
No, and I have two here. These are two I'm getting, I just kind of go through and grab. It's like, okay, these are for the next one. So this is a good example. So this one looks nice. They made a nice cover. You know what I mean? And this is just scribbled on two labels.
Yeah.
And to me, that's part of it, and part of the intrigue is like, okay, these people had it together. They had their stuff together. They were prepared. This looks like a total disaster, like it's going to sound terrible. And the irony is, most of the time, this one is the good one, and this one is boring, or what I would consider boring, or the quality's not good, or so yeah. But I'm with you that I was expecting to find more band photos, more whatever, but they're just in ratty old cases with handwriting. But that the Rainbirds tape, which led us to you. It's a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing on here.
No.
This is it.
No, it's bizarre, isn't it? So, Steve, do you ever get to hear these before the show? Or are you generally just sitting there thinking, what is coming at me down the line this week?
And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, is this something that Ryan's recorded as a joke? I have had a couple of those. It's like, am I just going to look like the biggest fool here? So no, I have no idea, and hence why sometimes, like even with the Rainbirds, it's like, what do you think the genre is? It'd be great to hear some skiffle.
Yes,
I had no clue what we were about to listen to. So, and even to the point where we don't listen to them, we don't do any research ahead of time, and then when there's this outpouring on the internet where it's like, I saw that band back in '93, or I've got their EP, or what. It's like, oh wow, okay. And when these stories unfold, that's the really exciting part for Ryan and I, just to see it. Sometimes within the hour of a new episode going out, it's like, oh wow, had no clue.
Yeah. As soon as the Heather one started playing, I thought, I was listening to that album last week in my car.
Oh wow,
just crazy. But it was amazing hearing the demo of a track that you know so well from an album.
She emailed me.
Did she? Oh,
Yeah,
right.
and she was like, "Oh my God, I have not heard that version of that song.
Yeah.
What's it called? Maybe an Angel."
Yeah, maybe an
Yeah.
angel.
She was just like, "Where did you get this? What is this? You know,
Yeah.
can you digitize it and send it to me?" She was super sweet. That's the other part of it, is that people, well, most of them get genuinely excited when they go, hold on a second, they want to talk about it. So that was a nice surprise I mean, she's done amazing, Heather Nova, to reach out and go, what's going on here? Let's talk.
Yeah. So one of the wonderful things about it, as you say, you don't do any research going into this. You literally are reacting to what you're hearing and what you're seeing on the cassette, which usually is very little indeed. But it kind of hit you in the face with the Bernard Butler and Julianne Reagan thing, and people got a little bit irritated. But you seem to roll with that and think, well, what the heck, you know? We don't know. I mean, why would you put Julianne and Bernard on a cassette when they were, it's probably known items at the time? But does it now do you sometimes think, oh God, who is this? Is this going to be somebody really good and we're going to get hammering for it?
100%. 100%.
Steve is worried about it every episode now.
I wake up in a cold sweat every night. I'm scarred for life.
I mean, I don't know how people can get genuinely upset, though. I mean, as you say, you're going in blind, aren't you? And that's the joy of it, is reacting to what it is, not who it is.
Well,
absolutely.
It would ruin it if we did a bunch of digging before and then we listened and we found out after the fact that maybe we should have known on a couple of them, but you're going in, and that was the perfect example. That they called that band Mrs. Decorating Bike.
I know.
We're going in with that in mind. If it would have said, Bernard Butler and Julianne Reagan, we would have listened to it totally differently.
Yeah.
Would have been a completely different episode and probably nowhere near as entertaining. I have no problem with ending up with egg on my face for something that was a number 8 in the charts 30 years ago. It's just like, now you're telling me that's what it is. I vaguely remember it, but it was not in my record collection.
This cassette, here's what we're dealing with today. It says
what the girl should do.
And the band is Mrs. Decorating Bike.
Sounds like they turn up at children's parties.
Mrs. Decorating Bike.
Hello,
I don't even know where to start with this.
With a boyfriend, he's so grown up, he's annoying. Don't drink and drive, he don't think.
She just said he's annoying. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then don't drink and drive.
Drive.
It's like a public service announcement.
Oh my God.
You could put this on at a kid's party. Don't drink and drive. He's annoying. He's eating too much cake. He's going to regret it later.
Yes.
Well, it's a fantastic series. I think it's going to go from strength to strength, and I've enjoyed it immensely, and I hope other people will tune in and find out more. I can't really wait to hear what else is coming out of that container. But thank you guys for pulling it together, and I wish you all the best with it as you go on to greater and greater calamities and whatever happens to you along the journey.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Sounding
yeah.
That really was special. That was a special moment for me. I have not laughed that hard in a pretty long time for that long. And what a far cry from the ominous, weird, just
really
like
suckered us in there, didn't they?
I can't.
Although those eyes are quite haunting.
What I mean, hard up university girls on the game. It has a totally different ring now.
Definitely the son of a priest, that guy, I reckon.
Oh my God.
That's how it all came out. I think I've laughed so hard I've got abs.